Hello, welcome back. I'm David Bianco, and this is the sound of Safe and Sound, Texas. Today I'm doing a video that I hadn't planned to do, but I think I've just got to get on the topic. There have been some rumblings, almost a quasi-earthquake here in the audiophile world, and I'm going to talk about that next on the sound of Safe and Sound, Texas. Hello, it's July 14th, 2022. I want to timestamp this one because in the past week or so, there's been a lot of rumblings in the audiophile world and among some really strong YouTube people who have been following the audiophile world for a while. And just here in the last hour or two, I saw a video drop by Mike, who owns a place called the In Groove, a record store in Phoenix, who I respect immensely and has done a lot of great work. And he's on the bandwagon to question the authenticity of whether or not we are having a pure analog experience with some of the recent MoFi releases, including the one steps. And I think part of the reason this kind of has come to the fore of curiosity now is actually, ironically, because of the announcement of the Thriller release in November by Michael Jackson, anniversary release of 40,000 copies of the one step. And when you look at the one step process, you start to think about it and go, how are they going to do that based on the way they're pressed and the lacquer and the life of the lacquer and using the tape, the original tape over and over again? Are they really using the original master tape, or are they using some sort of copy of it, whether it's an analog copy of it, whether it's a DSD or a digital copy? What's really going on here? Let's have some transparency. And so my perspective on this is where I have been buying Mobile Fidelity since the late 70s. So I'm no newcomer to it. I was, in the day, it was $16.95 for a Mobile Fidelity, a half-speed mastered, as they were called, okay? So I've lived through their incarnations. I lived through them going out of business and coming back into the fore when Music Direct bought them. And I bought a lot of their records, and I have nothing but praise for the products that they have come out with. So I want to be really clear about this. This is not about bashing. This is about truth. It's about transparency, and it's about really connecting with your customer base, because the people who spend this much money on a record do it for a reason. They have expectations. They may have made assumptions, and we may have made wrong assumptions. But the bottom line is, I think it's only fair that we understand the process. And I say this with all care because Mobile Fidelity has always been transparent. Here is an interior sleeve, and the record is actually inside a normal sleeve. This is the Fleetwood Mac album, and this is what they put it in to protect it. So they've always been and this is a very early one. This was, in the first 20 releases, I think, of Mobile Fidelity. So it says an audiophile's dream come true, and it explains very clearly what they're doing, what agreements they have with different companies and labels, and they talk about their process, and they're very transparent in that process. So right from the jump, this was how they behaved and what they did. So this is where I come from. I don't come from it as a person who is new to it or been buying it the last 5 or 10 years. I've been buying it literally over 40 years. So understand that's why I'm doing this video. So we have that. We then, in a little later series, in series, let's say 100 or greater, they came out with even more information. They had some promotional things on here for their products as well. And they went through literally a step-by-step process to tell you how they did what they do, right? So it says very clearly, original master recordings are exclusively transferred from the original stereo tape that the musician recorded in the studio, not from a second, third, or fourth generation copy of that master tape. That's pretty unambiguous. Original master recordings employ Mobile Fidelity's exclusive half-speed mastering process to capture every nuance of sound from that master tape. Now, these were half-speed masters. Along the way, sometime in the 2000s, I think, they stopped doing that. So what happened, I think, was the word kind of disappeared. Don't see half-speed mastering anymore. You don't see the word half-speed. Well, they weren't really overtly coming out and saying and announcing that they weren't going to do it that way. It just happened, right? It just happened. So I think that's an important thing to consider. Sometimes what isn't said is just as important as what is said. And so maybe we should have picked up on a little bit of a concern in the pattern of the fact that they then had to come back and say, oh, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. We really, we don't say we do that anymore, so we're not doing it.
Exactly.
Even back when they had the UHQR series, which was the original UHQR before Analog Production started doing it, I have some of these as well. They only made, I don't know, about 7 or 8 of these different albums of different people. This one is from Crime of the Century by Supertramp. So they give a lot of technical specifications. They show some sine waves, and they give you some details about the vinyl. So, the technique was already known. UHQR was the second wave that they did, right? So what started to happen is we then started to see albums like this one I'm going to show you. This was these silver labels, and Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab is what it says, okay? You'll notice on the earlier ones, and here's an example of an earlier one, it always said original master recordings on there, on top. That's what it said, okay? So when they started to come out with the silver label series on top, and it says Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab, what they said basically was, hey, we can't be sure that this is the original master tape. We can't be positive. Could be a copy, or they knew it was a copy, one of the two. But they did not brand it as as the way they did original master recording. Okay, that's fine. Those cost a little less. The vinyl wasn't quite as heavy. Okay, that's fine. That's fair. That's transparency. We understand, and that's what you're doing. So we got that out of them at the point in time, and so now we're living with that. And now we still now are coming out with ones that say original master recording that have been coming out, since that's at least 2015, 2016. There started a resurgence of them, and that's great. So our presumption had to be that the process was the same as it was all along, albeit it wasn't run at half speed. So that's kind of where we were at. Okay. Then we come along to the one-step process, and they give you a nice technical view of this, and they give you nice graphics and a shiny little gold circle there and here to show you, when you come to the actual final record and all, the vinyl, it explains it. And basically what it's saying is we're going to eliminate some steps here. They're going to go from these 5 steps to these 3. They're not going to have the mother-father plating process, and so they're going to go more direct. Well, the more they do that with lacquers, every time they make a lacquer, they have to come from the master tape. So the master tape's getting rerun any number of times for the lacquer. So depending how many print-offs the lacquer can make or copies it can make, that's going to determine how many times you need to rerun that tape in order to get that made. And understand that the tapes are getting older for these older products, meaning records that have been made in the 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever. The tapes have, they're more fragile. So, the real dawning, I think, in some ways has been the announcement of the Michael Jackson Thriller release of 40,000 units of the one step. 40,000. I think the most before was 10,000. So we're thinking, okay, we'll do the math. How are they going to make that many lacquers? This is Sony. Sony going to let them run that thing that many times to create that many lacquers to press that many records? So I think that is where the curiosity came in. So now the thought is, well, are they really using the master tape to do that, or are they making a digital copy of the master tape and then using that digital copy to create the lacquer? I don't know. I'm not sure. Will it make a difference? Should it make a difference? That's debatable. But the point is, I think we need to know. And I think that's what Mike was saying as well. We just need to know what the situation is. Because here's the bottom line. The one steps that I've heard sound amazing. So they don't sound digital. They sound analog. They really do. So I'm not here to say the product's no good. I'm not here to say that you don't get your money's worth out of it. This is really just about the need to know. And we believe that Mobile Fidelity has been a very strong player in this field. We believe that they seek a premium dollar for what they sell. And we believe that we should know what the process is that yields that outcome. It has gotten to that point. We feel that's important because there are other providers who are extremely overt in writing on the jacket, which explains what their process is. You know, you've got Analog Productions and what they're doing. You got Intervention Records, where they literally created a SPARS code like we used to have with CDs, which identifies which steps they're all analog in their case. So we have that as a baseline. Now, it's unfortunate, in my opinion, that Mobile Fidelity didn't create the baseline because they are the de facto largest manufacturer, and I'm not going here by numbers. I'm just saying they have name presence, brand presence. Analog Productions is great, and they've come a long way, and I identify them very highly. But my point is, they were, in my opinion, the standard bearer. So they have, in my opinion, the reason to do that. You don't rest on your laurels when you're a business, especially when you're in a niche business. And I think that that's really what I'm asking for as an audiophile, as a person who has spent 45 years literally buying their product. I think that that's only fair. And I think that that is all that we're asking in the vinyl community. So again, Mobile Fidelity makes great products. They have their shortcomings in QC like a lot of manufacturers do. They have their issues with the spines breaking open and the packaging, which I talked about in a previous video that I'll link here. There are some people who think that the artwork that's done and the quality of the photography or the quality of the reproduction is low, and I leave that to others. For me, it's good enough. I'm buying it to play the record. But now when you're talking about the record and you're talking about what I'm listening to and you're talking about what I know or think, now we're getting into an area where I think I really want to know. I think I really need to know. I mean, maybe, it's going to influence things. And I think that's what they're afraid of, frankly, is that, if you hear the D word, the digital word in the process, people are going to drop out. And that may well be true. But I also think there's a lot of us audiophiles out there who have bought their product, promoted their product, and still believe in their product, who are simply asking for transparency and openness about what methodology they're using. So again, this was a quickly put together video, and I appreciate you watching. As always, I really would appreciate it if you would press that subscribe button. It really does help me out to be able to use more YouTube features. I also, if you do like this video, would love you to hit the like button on this video. And if you have any comments, any feedback, I'd love to hear it as well. Again, I'm trying to give you my perspective as someone who's older and has been buying these for a long time. And I wanted to come in from my perspective, show you some of the older materials and how they, over time, they evolved and where we came to and where we're at today. And I hope that's been helpful to you. So for now, I'll leave you and say thanks for watching The Sound of Safe and Sound Texas. Goodbye, everybody.